Hello, everybody. I'm Jason Finkelstein, the Chief Marketing Officer of Gladly. It's my pleasure to welcome you to Gladly Connect Live 2024. So, without further ado, I am going to welcome Joseph Ansanelli, our CEO, with the most kick-butt walk-on music you've ever heard.
Thank you, Scottsdale. Thank you, Gladly. Now keep those hands clapping for your CEO, Joseph! Oh! Oh, yeah! Oh, yeah, my man. Oh,
Thank you. I don't know exactly how to follow that up because I really can't dance. I only sing in the shower, so. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is absolutely one of the highlights of my year. And it's a highlight because what we're trying to do here today is build this incredible Gladly community. And so I want to just say, welcome to everyone. So glad you're here. And I want to start with some thank yous. There's a lot of great companies here, a lot of great customers, but a few of you helped me to deal with a challenge that I was given. I was given a challenge to say, hey, Joseph, do you think you could wear only the things from our customers? So I've got my Allbirds shoes on, I've got my Hokas for the gym, I've got my Tecovas boots for later, I've got a Ralph Lauren dress shirt, I've got a Stio vest, I've got my cool jacket on, a little sweater on now, Bombas socks right here, yeah. Brooks Brothers dress shirt, came with my Toomey luggage and my laptop bag. Nordstrom, I got these jeans, thank you, Jim, for those. All right, Warby Parker glasses to read, I got my Zennies for my sunglasses. Like, what else do I need? So thank you. I want to start by doing a look back at what we talked a little bit about last year, because one of the things we like to do in these sessions is show you where we're going, and I want to make sure that we told you what we told you we actually did, and actually share some of the results from the things that we shipped. So I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to talk a little about where we're going. So one of our big pillars that we think about as a company is this idea that customer service is about customers. It's not called case service. It's not called ticket service. It's about customer service. And so we invest a ton in things to keep putting customers back at the center of customer service. And last year, you all collectively helped over 60 million, nearly 60 million customers, which is just amazing. And we are investing in things in the product to help make that even better. So for example, last year we shipped the ability to identify people on mobile phone numbers so that you don't have to ask who they are. You know who they are from the beginning. The ability to connect that in so that you can look up who they are and actually make your agents into heroes so that they actually have all the latest information like, hey, this item just shipped in the last 30 minutes. We also recently shipped, you see the little badge here next to the customer's name, the ability to actually authenticate people so that you actually know when someone's chatting that they're logged into your website and you can pass those credentials over so you can actually do transactions with them. So really excited about that. And I'd like to just share some comments that Lauren from Rothy's had to say about some of the things we're doing.
Gladly has been a godsend. I have become one of the biggest fans and we'll give references from the hilltops, because what it does is it makes my agents feel empowered to give the best customer service possible through any channel that's coming at them. So for the first time ever, it's a platform that I work on where everything is at the agent's fingertips in one place. We have an integration so they can see all of our orders. We are able to see loyalty and lifetime value all in one place. And so my agent doesn't have to worry about the operations of doing their job. They can just worry about the delight of doing their job and making the customer experience as seamless as possible. So being able to integrate everything into one place for us has been key. And now we're really excited about AI and Sidekick, because that just adds to the suite of what we use day to day.
The second big area that we were focusing on is how to turn your agents into heroes. So investing in things to make your team more productive. And we think that productivity is a goal to actually deliver better service. It's not about reducing conversation time. It's about making your team more productive so they can deliver a better experience. And a big area that we focused on, we demoed last year, was around Hero AI, the ability to help your team write content. So now we've shipped authoring, Hero AI authoring for all digital channels, so email, text, SMS, chat, Facebook, Instagram. And we've actually authored millions of messages in the first 6 months that this has been out. And most importantly, 90% of the time when the AI is authoring a response, your teams don't change it and edit it, which is just a really, really great result in terms of the quality of what we're doing. That's been really big. And then the other big one was around just summarizing conversations. The ability within an instant to just say, hey, give me a summary of this conversation. You can use that at the end so that the next person who engages with that customer knows what was talked about. You can also use it any time during a conversation. So let's say there's an ongoing conversation and a customer gets matched with a support hero. They can say, hey, get me up to speed on what's happened. So the benefit here is that your team is up to speed on understanding who the customer is and what's been happening, but also it drives a lot of efficiency. We were seeing reductions of after conversation time by 10 to 50% where people are using AI summaries. And again, here too, we've done millions and millions of summaries. And we have the ability for people to give a little thumbs up or thumbs down if we're summarizing properly. And 97% of the time, people are giving us a thumbs up. So we're really confident in the output of this as well. So really excited about that. And what I'd like to do is play a little video of Carla talking about the experience that they've had with this, Carla from Allbirds. So let's take a listen.
What excites me the most is the potential of AI to revolutionize the way we serve our customers. More so, to be able to do that directly through Gladly and not as a separate add-on allows us to keep the customer at the center of everything we do while providing our team with cutting-edge tools to deliver personalized service. Two examples of this would be Agent Assist and Agent Summary. Agent Assist, which greatly helps our offshore team whose native language is not English, the ability to comfortably personalize the responses without sounding awkward. Agent Summary is something that every single team member appreciates, as it allows for a concise recap of every customer interaction despite how long the conversation took to resolve. This allows for the next team member to quickly jump in without having to read through long threads.
All right. Well, thank you, Carla, for that. So one of the other big areas that we focused on is giving you more information, more insights to understand what other conversations are happening with your customers. And shipped a whole bunch of things here around insights. The first was just a new dashboard around topics that we had demoed last year. This is a great place to capture what are the top 10 topics by volume. You can look at all the detail. You can slice and dice it by dates and times. Again, just trying to give more insight that you can actually understand what's happening with your conversations with customers. And we also released something we call freeform topics, which is the ability to have something like an order number or a SKU number that you can actually apply as a topic. So this will give you the ability, to, for example, to say, hey, how often are we seeing conversations about a particular SKU? And how do you then leverage that data to maybe change some things in product design or product process? And that's been a really great addition to give even additional granular insights as well. And then a coaching dashboard. And the coaching dashboard allows you to, when you sit down with your team, have a better conversation about their productivity. What's their percentage of time they're available? What's their occupancy? How often are they transferring customers to somebody else? It gives you that starter for that conversation to talk about improvement and betterment of your team. And then lastly, we shipped business hour SLAs, which was a big request by so many of you. The ability to not only look at an SLA from when a customer reached out to you, which is really important, but let's say they reach out Friday night and they send in a text message at 11 o'clock, and maybe you don't have weekend office hours. You come in Monday morning, within 30 minutes you respond. Business hour SLAs is when you're working and understanding how quickly you're responding when your team is available, and that's been a great addition that people have really taken advantage of. And then lastly, one of the biggest things we released last year is something we call focus. We found that your teams are so customer-centered. They all want to help customers. And we have the ability, for example, to have an after-conversation time. You set it for a minute or 2 minutes where your team can do follow-up. And then when they're done, they're going to get matched with the next customer. And what we found was that if, for some reason, they needed more time, they were making themselves unavailable. And as a result, we weren't tracking their work properly. So now, with the ability to do focus, your team can now say, hey, I'm not quite done. I'm going to go into focus mode. Please don't give me any new customers until I'm all done. But we keep tracking their work, how long they're working, what they're working on, and give you a more accurate measure of something called occupancy, or what percentage of the time is your team actively working and supporting customers. And this has been wildly successful as well. The last area we talked about in 2023 is this idea of helping customers help themselves. I think we all as consumers, if we're given the tools to make our ability to help ourselves easy, efficient, accurate, we're happy to do that. And so we're investing not only in delivering a world-class assisted customer service experience with your team, but also providing tools that you can actually do really delightful self-service experiences. So the big thing, obviously, that we announced after Gladly Connect Live was Gladly Sidekick. And this was a result of an acquisition of a company called Thankful, and we've been investing in building there. So shipping things like an out-of-the-box capability around managing orders. So this is an example of canceling an order, for example, and the ability to actually do custom integrations on a single platform with the Gladly app platform so that you can actually not only ask questions and have a conversation that's automated, but also take action in your systems, whether it's Shopify or a custom system or any app platform that you have behind the scenes that you want to connect to. And this has been very successful in driving efficiency of your teams, where we can actually start to automate 10, 20% of the conversations that are handed into Sidekick. We also built some out-of-the-box integrations here. So, for example, we shipped Order Groove and Ship Hero and Loop returns all out of the box so you can take advantage of those in your Sidekick self-service threads. And then lastly, we wanted to unify all the reporting and insights. So now all of the Sidekick insights are combined and integrated into a single reporting platform as part of Gladly Hero, so you can actually look at things across both your Hero data as well as your Sidekick data. And I'd love to have Danny say a few words about the work we've been doing with Breeze Airways around Sidekick.
Gladly and Breeze are better together because you've got radically personal and you've got seriously nice. That is the opportunity where we push against each other for what should be in AI and what should be human. And we challenge each other and we innovate with each other, and we constantly are bouncing ideas off of each other to make sure we're striking that perfect balance of the guest that just wants the quick answer and get on their way, and then the guest that really needs some personal touch. The Gladly tool allows us to be there for both of those guests, and to make the travel experience just more seamless.
Thank you, Danny. So we just wanted to highlight some of the things that we showed you we were going to ship last year and that we shipped since then. And I really want to just thank everybody for the partnership. You know, one of the things that we try to do at Gladly is to continually innovate. And innovation requires partnership. And we can't thank everybody enough. You know, we oftentimes will work with a few of you before we ship something to everybody else. I hate to say you're the guinea pigs, but you're kind of the guinea pigs, and we appreciate that partnership and that spirit of innovation, willing to try things, give us feedback, and work to make everything better. And so we really, really thank you for that. So let's talk a little bit about where we're going. And I always like to ground the future in this idea of the importance of what's the big idea, what's the big picture, what's the thing we're all working towards. And for us, and the reason we started the company, is this idea of loyalty. We believe that customer service today, is no longer just a back office issue resolution function. It's not just about dealing with something that happened after a customer received a product. Service is really about the entire life cycle of a customer's engagement with you. We found that for many of you here today, anywhere from 30 to 50% of your conversations are pre-sales questions. These are customers who are asking questions about your products and services before they've actually made a purchase. And yes, of course, the conversation continues after the sale is made, but loyalty is really about making that connection through that entire life cycle so that customers come back. And it's been shown, and this is some research from a company called the Brand Keys Global Research Group, that the measurement of loyalty, how loyal your customers are, is the single biggest driver and predictor of your company's sales growth, profitability, customer behavior, meaning how often do they come back, do they repeat purchase, do they ignore competitors? Loyalty. If you get loyalty right, the score is going to take care of itself. And so we really believe that your and our mission together is to help drive loyalty. And there's this book out called Irrational Loyalty, and I just love this concept of irrational loyalty, right? You want your customers to be so in love with your brand that you might look at it and say, it's a little irrational. Now, this book is a lot about when you have irrational loyalty, in times of turbulence, how do customers behave, right? And how does that loyalty help through the tough situations? But I think the concept of irrational loyalty is really powerful. And the author, Deb Gabor, she describes it basically as this idea that irrational loyalty is your customers would never even consider using it or buying or engaging with another brand. And she compares it to the relationships in your lives. That if you did, it would feel like you're cheating on your partner. That's a very emotional connection. And we really think that that's the big idea. And so what are the kind of behaviors that come from having irrational loyalty? Well, we've seen many of them. For example, if you buy a Mac or an iPhone, you get a little Apple sticker, and you often see them on people's cars. That's a little irrational, But my favorite example of irrational loyalty is this: tattooing the logo of the brand of the company that you love on your body. And Harley-Davidson, of all brands, and they're not a customer yet, I hope one day they are, they really understand that it's a representation of someone's self, that they have made a connection with that brand, that it's a big identity for who they are. And they did this great ad campaign because they realized that people do a lot of Harley-Davidson tattoos. And they ranked them, the world tattoo rankings, number one, the most popular tattoo is Mom, but the second most popular is Harley-Davidson. That's pretty incredible. Now, my use of the word irrational is not meant judgmentally in any way, but just think about this for a second. This guy who's now got the Harley-Davidson tattoo on the back of his neck, you're not going to see him driving down the road on a Honda anytime soon. You just can't do it. That's what we think of when we think of this idea of irrational loyalty. It's about creating this emotional connection between you, your company, your brand, and your customers. And when you create that connection, it's very hard to compete with. And that connection, to quote Maya Angelou, is, people will forget what you tell them. They'll forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel. And that's what we're trying to help you in our partnership deliver, is this idea of irrational loyalty. So for us, at Gladly, our mission is to help you, the world's most customer-obsessed brands, the most customer-obsessed companies, achieve irrational loyalty. And we believe the way to do that is this idea of delivering radically personal customer service. Now, obviously the last year, AI has been all the headlines. So the question is, it's really understood. I don't want to say easy, but it's understood if you can create and have a great conversation with someone, deliver a great experience for them, a human to human, that you can get to that emotional state of irrational loyalty. But you're all wondering, I'm sure, because we've talked a lot about it, how do you achieve irrational loyalty in this new age that we're in of AI? I'm a big fan of President Kennedy. I'm actually, one of my crazy things is I love the history of the Apollo space program. And he had so many amazing quotes, obviously the speech that he gave about going to the moon. But one of the other quotes that he talks a lot about is change. And that change is the law of life. And those of us who look only to the past or the present are certain, if not very likely, to miss the future. And we are in a moment of change like that. AI as a technology shift is massive. It's as significant as the internet and the World Wide Web was in terms of the browser. It's as significant, if not even more significant, than what happened with mobile and smartphones. It's massive. It's massive. Now, in Silicon Valley, we make these statements that there's this massive change happening, and we often will overestimate the impact it'll have on the short term, but we usually underestimate the impact on the long term. And I think AI is going to be very similar. But change is hard. It's very hard. It's going to challenge you all to rethink how you deliver service. Us too. How do we provide the software to help you? Change is very, very hard. But I'll tell you, having gotten to know so many of you, I've seen you all over the last 4 years deal with incredible change already. I mean, think about it. March of 2020, 4 years ago, third week of March, we were all roughly 1 or 2 weeks into a global pandemic that had forced all of us to change how we work. Most of you had teams, you were all in offices together and you were engaged and you could just walk down the office to talk to someone. All of a sudden, we're all at home and it fundamentally changed the way we work. And it really had a big impact on how you deliver customer service too. It fundamentally changed the way we shop. I'm glad that some of those things, like disinfecting our groceries, we didn't actually keep as a habit. But it's, the way we as consumers had to change overnight. The percentage of digital or e-commerce sales went through the roof overnight. The pandemic fundamentally changed how we all communicate. Microsoft Teams, Google Meet, Zoom. And it fundamentally had to change how you deliver service. And the shift to the fact that your whole connection with your customers was 100% digital overnight. Now, it is important to remember that the only person who really likes change is a web baby. And the reason is because change itself is really uncomfortable, except, if you're wearing a diaper. And the example that I was talking about in terms of the shift, in terms of how people shop, this is that chart. The percentage of e-commerce relative to total retail sales in the United States. And you can see in the last 10 years, it's grown 240%. Now, back in 1999, everyone thought that it was going to be even greater, so it did take longer, but you can see it's this steady increase up and to the right. Change is hard. Often it isn't inevitable, too. So let's talk about the impact of AI. What impact it's going to have on how you deliver service. Just a few weeks ago, this was just in February, there's kind of two competing headlines that came out. Everyone saw the news. Klarna announced, 2/3 of the messages going to their chat were being handled by AI. Incredible stat. And at the same time, Air Canada announced an experience where their automated chat gave an answer around a very personal moment in someone's life, which is someone had passed away and they were looking for a bereavement fare, and the AI kind of made up an answer and hallucinated and caused a little bit of a kerfuffle in terms of the relationship with that customer. So you have on both sides of AI, you see this incredible potential to drive a lot of productivity and efficiency. But you also have the other side of it, which is the potential to damage that irrational loyalty that we're all trying to build. Now let me ask you a question. How many of you were asked by your CEO about the Klarna announcement? Just raise your hands. Okay, quite a few of you. I got asked by my board, I got asked by many of you. But the second question is, how many of you were also asked about the Air Canada experience? I didn't get a single text message from anyone here. I didn't get an email or text message from my board. Nothing. Everyone sees the potential, but oftentimes we forget that it's actually really hard work. So going back to this question, how do you achieve irrational loyalty in the age of AI? Well, we put together a little demonstration that we'd like to show everybody that gives you a sense of how to do it.
Hello, you've reached Term Warner Cable. Your call may be monitored and recorded for training and quality. It will help expedite the call if we can pull up your record. Please enter or say the phone number associated with your account, starting with the area code.
718-625-0689.
You said 718-625-0685. Is this correct?
No.
You said no. Is this correct?
Yes.
You said yes. Is this correct?
No.
You said no. Is this correct?
Yes, but referring to your question, did I say no?
I'm sorry, I didn't get that. Let's try again. It will help expedite the call if we can pull up your record. Please enter or say the phone number associated with your account, starting with the area code.
718-625-0689.
You said 718-625-0685. Is this correct?
No.
You said no. Is that correct?
Yes.
You said yes. Is that correct?
Yes.
The number you gave does not match any account in our records. Please enter or say the phone number associated with your account, starting with the area code.
You.
I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Okay, I was just kidding. That is not obviously the way to deliver and achieve irrational loyalty in the age of AI. But I think we can all relate to when we've had experiences like that, where you forget about some of the core tenets of how to deliver service. And we do not believe that that is the future in any way. But what we do believe are the following things. We believe, even in the age of AI, that you still keep customers at the center of customer service. Unlike many other technology companies out there who are rebranding and saying, we're an AI company, we're an AI-centered company, we're an AI-first company, we actually think for customer service, you still need to be centered first and foremost around the customer. Who are they? What do you know about them? Do they have a high lifetime value? Did they have an order yesterday? Is their order delayed? What was the conversation that they had maybe with either a person or maybe your AI layer yesterday? The key to delivering irrational loyalty has to start with an understanding of who the customer is. And if you understand that, then you start to think about how AI can take advantage of it. And that's why our second principle, and if you think about these as, circles, is this idea of building a customer service AI layer that wraps around all the information you know about your customer, so all that great customer information, and also is trained specifically on the way you do business. So we'll show you here shortly in a demo examples like, what are your answers? It's not okay to just take ChatGPT and plug it into Gladly, because it doesn't really know, Crate & Barrel's business, or Nordstrom's, or Takova's. Without extending the large language models with the content specific to each and every one of your brands, you can't deliver on that irrational loyalty. So we want to take this customer service AI layer and, one, connect it to all the information about your customers, but then give you the tools to say, hey, here's our answers. Leverage those to understand how to do a response. Here's the conversation history with the customers so you know how to actually respond to maybe something they talked about yesterday. What's your brand tone? Do you use emoji? Do you not use emoji? Do you see tomato, say tomato, or do you say tomato? It's really important that this customer service AI layer is wrapped around that all that rich information about your customers and you. And third, we believe that AI works best when you harness both the great experiences you can deliver in an assisted world as well as in a self-service world. And we think of these as something that can easily and seamlessly go back and forth. You can start a conversation with AI, it can answer some questions, it can then move, and now that the customer is now communicating with a person, a support hero. That support hero is continuing to get help from the AI so we can actually drive efficiency and personalization. And then the support hero can also then pass it back to the AI to maybe finish the conversation. We think of these as just one interconnected and unified entire life cycle where AI is working both across assisted and self-service. And then all of that exists in this idea of a single lifelong conversation, unified and organized by time. So whether it's your AI having a conversation, your people having a conversation, it's all just one conversation between you, your brand, your company, and that end consumer. And that's the idea that we talk about, which is how you deliver radically personal customer service. It's those 4 core values delivers what we refer to as radically personal customer service. So what I'd like to do now is play a little video of Kate from Crate & Barrel and her view about how the future of AI is going to impact their business.
We are not looking at how AI is going to necessarily reduce our need for agents. In fact, it changes how we look at our agents. Our agents are able to potentially do more for revenue generation. We're going to change the KPIs we're measuring against so that they can have longer conversations or more in-depth conversations selling services or products to our customer, or engaging when the customer needs that extra hand or thought partnership. It helps services like gift registry and design services to be realized differently. So the quick, responsive, transactional interactions that AI will help support will free the associate up to handle deeper relationship building with our customer, with our brand and our products, and ultimately lead to great revenue generation.
So, to repeat, and by the way, 100% agree with Kate and how she thinks about this. We think that you want to take the things that are valuable to customers, but things that AI can handle very well, you want to take those off your team's plate to free up your team's time so that they can be doing those higher value relationship connections, selling services. And we think, again, to do that, 4 core things: keeping the customer at the center, building this layer of customer service AI around the customer, unlocking the power of AI to get the best of both assisted and self-service experiences, and then unifying all of that conversation in a single lifelong conversation. So what I'd love to do now is, if you're up for it, I'd love to actually jump in and give you all a demo. So let me grab my glasses here. Thank you to Warby Parker, since getting to be a little old man, it's a little easier to see here. So what I'd like to do is jump over here and give you a demo. So we've been testing a bunch of things with Allbirds, so we're going to use them for our demo. What you're going to see here is all work that's in our engineering team's world. It's not out in the wild yet, but we want to use this to show you where we're going. So here I am, I'm engaged with I'm on Allbirds site, I'm logged in so it knows my identity, and I have a question about a product. So I'm going to start a chat conversation. I'll make this a little bigger so hopefully you can all see that a little better. So you notice, number one, it actually recognizes who I am because I'm logged in. Hi Joseph, how can we help? And because I've been verified, it can actually start to make assumptions about what types of questions to ask. So for example, it says, hey, we see that you had an order that arrived yesterday. Do you have a question about that? Yes. There we go. So the first thing you notice is we bring up an order card. So what I'm going to walk you through here is something we're calling an order management self-service thread. And we're making a big investment in actually building a more rich media experience to actually deliver order management right in the Glad app and in the chat experience. So you can see I see the order here, I have the tracking number, and I can ask some questions about what I want to do with that order. In this case, I need to do an exchange. You'll see that we then will have product detail cards that we're working on, so you can actually see, have individual product cards. This is used both for Sidekick in this example of self-service, but it's also the kind of thing that your team can start to now share product cards when they're having conversations and pre-sales conversations. So in this case, I'm going to exchange the soft merino tee, and I need a medium. By the way, I'm wearing a soft merino tee. It's great. Is there anything else I need to exchange? Nope. That's it. And you get a confirmation. Here's a link with how to drop it off the FedEx office, and a nice message just saying, because as a thank you, you've got some time to send it back. So what did we just see here? We basically saw a conversational order management experience, blending together sort of scripted and structured ways to do it with generative AI in terms of driving the conversation. So you can see we had an order. First, we recognize the customer. We're not asking for their order number. We know who they are. We're showing their order information. We're asking them questions back and forth. They can choose information about which items they need to exchange in this case, and then we're actually connecting the self-service thread with your order management system to execute, in this case, an exchange, so that whole process can be fully automated. Whoop. So let's just say thanks. And let's move on to another type of self-service conversation. So, is there anything else I can help with? Well, last night I spilled some ketchup on my wool runners. how do I clean them? Now we're going to show here something we call an answer thread. You all have, as part of Gladly, the Answers knowledge base where you can author content, you're creating it and publishing it on your FAQ pages, you're using it in the Glad app so you can actually do self-service anywhere. It's something that's available for your team. And what we're doing is we're taking that customer service AI layer and we're training it and connecting it to your answers. So in this case, there's an answer about how to clean wool runners, and then we're leveraging generative AI to actually make it into something which is specific. So the Allbirds answer for how to clean wool runners doesn't mention ketchup, obviously, but we know we're talking about ketchup, so we're going to customize that answer. Generative AI is going to customize that answer to actually make it very personalized. And then it's sharing that content. So the idea is to figure out how to take that long tail of questions that come in from your customers and again, leverage Sidekick so that it can actually respond, but in your brand tone, in your voice, with your content. Now, importantly, we're extending the LLM with this content, but it's only being used in your instance of Gladly. It's not something that's being used to train a public model or anything like that. And that's part of why it's as different than just plugging ChatGPT into Gladly, for example. So let's keep going here. I'll try this when I get home. And let's continue the conversation. So I also need some new hiking shoes. Now, we're continuing the conversation, and one thing that's really important, again, thinking about this idea of keeping the customer at the center, wrapping everything you know about the customer with this layer of customer service AI, you'll notice in this response, Sidekick references a previous conversation. Happy to help. I think you mentioned going to Arizona when you called last week. Are you thinking of wearing them then? By unifying everything together, putting the customer at the center, Sidekick actually can, again, still deliver on those personalized experiences to drive irrational loyalty. So, yes, great memory. Not only can it reference, let's see here, I'm going to ask one of my colleagues, is that all right? Yes, it is. And what we're going to do in the demo is transition to a support hero helping, not because the Sidekick can't continue the conversation, but for demo purposes, we want to show you what that experience is like as well. So we're going to hand this over to a support hero, and it's totally okay to pass that over. And let's jump back over into Gladly Hero. Make myself available, and now I'm matched with Joseph as a customer. So let's talk about a couple of things here. So first of all, you'll see there's a self-service summary here. So when we do this Sidekick handoff to the hero, we give a little summary, help Joseph exchange an item. Joseph's traveling to Arizona, wants a recommendation for some hiking shoes. We have the entire conversation history. You can see what Sidekick responded to back to the customer. So it's as if it was a support hero. We just treat it as part of that conversation with the customer. You see the order cards, the product detail cards that we showed in the Glad app also appear here in Hero. You can see the order details, and you can see the summary of that conversation that happened where I mentioned that I was taking this trip to Arizona. Now, we've been doing summaries, as I mentioned earlier, on all the digital conversations since last year, and what we're showing here is actually extending summaries to calls, which we know is a really big feature request from people. Now we're going to ship that here in the next couple of months, so we'll actually be leveraging AI to also summarize the calls so your team doesn't have to listen through on the entire call. So we think that's pretty cool. So let's go back all the way down here. The other thing you'll notice at the very end is something called a suggested reply. As we said, we think that the power of AI is not just to drive self-service experience, but to continue and be there through the entire conversation, whether Sidekick is driving it or whether one of your support heroes is driving it. We've been working on leveraging the same approach that we take for doing answers threads in a self-service experience to use that to actually suggest content to your team to drive efficiency, personalization. In this case, the suggested reply from Sidekick is to say, hi, this is Michelle. That's who I'm logged in here as a support hero. And it's recommending the men's trail runners based on the question asked about the hiking shoe. Now I can edit this if I wanted to make some changes, or I can just pop this in and use it. And you'll see here that that exact suggestion shows up here in the Glad app. And it asks a question here, are they for me? Were those shoes that I bought 2 years ago? So not only can we look at conversation history, we can look at order history. It's asking the question, of those shoes that you ordered a couple of years ago, were they for you or they were a gift? They were for me. From me. And because it's generative AI, it actually understood that question here. And we continue with that conversation of suggesting a response. Would you like to look at some other colors? Let's use that as a response. And no, black is great. And this idea of suggested replies is, again, to leverage that same approach of taking your answer's content and unlocking it so that we're being a sidekick, not only for the customer, but for your team. And by integrating Sidekick with the Gladly app platform, so you actually not only have data, but you can take action in self-service, we also believe in this idea that not only can you suggest content, but also Sidekick can suggest actions. So here we have a suggested thread, which is offering to actually do and finish the order. So I can click yes, continue. And right here in the Glad app, we're actually driving the conversation with offering to actually do the order and confirm the transaction. So I'll confirm that. Yes, that looks right to me. And the way the Gladly app platform can connect to systems of action, it can actually go ahead and place that order. And there's nothing else I need. No, that's it. And the last thing that we think is super important is to make sure that you're tying CSAT to the success of this conversation so that you can measure the results of what your AI, what Sidekick is doing to ensure quality. And so in addition to supporting all the great partners that we have around CSAT, whether it's Medallia and Qualtrics and others, we're also going to be building in some basic CSAT to also have an option for you out of the box. So in this case, I'm going to say I'm very satisfied, and you're my hero. So let me summarize everything we just showed you. First thing we showed you that we're working on is the idea of order management threads. Out of the box, how do you help drive the most common and popular question for so many of you, which is how to manage an order? Where is it? What's the status? How can I do an exchange? Can I actually cancel? Can I do a refund? Order management threads and the ability to take actions. Second thing we showed is answer threads. That example of ketchup spilling on my shoe. Being able to ask a question and have Sidekick leverage your answers content and leveraging generative AI to author a response, not sending you a link to the help center, actually just giving it to you right there conversationally. We showed you suggested replies, which is when the conversation and the customer gets matched back with a support hero, how we want Sidekick continuing to run all the time to make your team more productive, delivering better answers, better content, and personalized. And then lastly, we showed an action thread, this idea of a suggested thread where the support hero can actually pass the customer back to Sidekick to finish the conversation. In this case, go take and confirm that order for those hiking shoes and then hand it back off. And then lastly, CSAT, the ability to make sure that you know how well you're doing. And separate from the AI is obviously just the ability to now have call summaries as well. Now, what I like to do is go a little further out. Let me take a little sip of water. So all the things we just showed, this is all the stuff the team is working on right now, doing a lot of development around, testing with some customers. But we're also thinking about what comes next after that. So one of the things that we think is really important with AI and generative AI is that it is somewhat non-deterministic. Very much like hiring a new support hero, you need to train them, you need to coach them so that they know how to respond to customers. What's the tone to use? How do you, when can you do an exchange or a return or a credit or a refund or a discount code? These are all things that you need to teach your team, and you need to coach them on how to best do it, and you continue to coach them as they work. We need to do the same thing to make Sidekick and AI really successful. So we're building a coaching experience once we ship much of the other things I just showed you, and the idea is to use this coaching experience to actually make the AI more effective. We want that experience to be part of the same exact Gladly Hero customer experience. So here I am looking at Julie, and as a manager, I can go into coaching mode. And what you'll notice is at the top here, the conversation separator, I've got this information that Sidekick worked on the store inquiry and the customer was very satisfied. We want to expand this to deliver on something we're calling conversation insights. The idea is to bring together a good summary of what happened in this conversation. So what's the AI summary? The customer contacted about some store locations in San Francisco, and Sidekick provided a promo code. The topics that were applied was a store inquiry. It uses the store location answer. It's a concept we're going to talk about a little bit more about advice and what actions were taken, and then you have the CSAT. Well, let's look at that conversation. You can see the customer asked about store locations, and Sidekick provided 2 of them in San Francisco with the address as well as the phone number. And the customer replied, and Sidekick actually was told to talk about this promotion that's going on, and the customer is really satisfied. Now, we're using this as an example because we think it's really important that coaching is not just about the experiences that went wrong, but also you really want to make sure you're training it on the things that went right. Just like I have 2 young kids, it's really valuable to talk about what you want them to do as opposed to telling them what not to do, right? And so I can give some coaching here, I can leave some comments, this is a great response, and I can save that, and that starts to help make the Sidekick experience better. Now let's jump over to another example. In this example here, the customer is actually dissatisfied. And you know what? Sometimes that happens. In this case, the customer was asking about exchanging an item that was on a final sale. And it's just a strict policy that if it's final sale, there's no returns, refunds, exchanges. And, the customer might be dissatisfied. But let's see exactly how that conversation went. You can see here that Sarah asked the question about an exchange, even though it was a final sale. And in this case, Sidekick knows that that's not something that you let Sidekick do. But I do notice, by the way, there was a little emoji here of a shopping bag. Maybe not exactly the message you want to be sending when someone is trying to do an exchange and you're giving them the answer of no. And the customer asks again, Sidekick stands its ground, and obviously the customer's upset. So in this case, for coaching, we want to talk about some better advice for how to handle this conversation. So we're working on this concept of how you coach. We call it advice, and you can go in and you can give it advice about things like how to use emoji, whether you should. So the current advice says only include emojis occasionally, but there's no real restriction on that in any way. So let's add a little bit to it, which is, and don't include an emoji when a customer is asking to return something. We can save that, and that's going to help train Sidekick so that the next time someone is asking a question about a final sale exchange or a return, don't use any emoji in that case. We can then add a comment about that so that you can document what you thought of this conversation, and we can save it. And again, now that advice is going to be used going forward. And lastly, we also think that this coaching experience is not only for Sidekick, but also obviously for your team. And here's an example where we had a customer ask a question about 2 different pair of loafers, the pointed and Leia loafers. And it turns out Sidekick wasn't able to find answers related to Leia loafers, so it transferred the customer to a support hero. And that's totally okay. So let's look at that conversation. The customer asked about these black pointed loafers. Sidekick answered the question. Then they asked a question about these other loafers, the Leia loafers, and because Sidekick didn't know how to answer it, it handed off to a support hero. Michelle answered the question super well. She knew about the Leia loafers. The customer was super happy. Now, as part of this, Sidekick was looking to the answer that we had authored in Answers about the loafer details. And if you pop in here, you can see there's no content about the Leia loafers. There's only content about the pointed loafers. So part of this idea of coaching is also to give the ability for you as leaders to create new content as needed based on what's happening with the conversation, whether it's with Sidekick, and also obviously the benefit is not only for Sidekick, but also to your team as well as to your customers. So we're going to extend this answer with some stuff about the Leia loafers. I can save it, and now Sidekick can take advantage of that the next time someone asks a question. We can also provide feedback directly to the support hero, so I'm going to mention Michelle, put that content in there, and save that, and we're all done. So, coaching, we think super important. There's one last thing I want to show before we wrap up. Everything we've shown so far in the demo has been digital or text-based. And we think that the Glad app experience and delivering experiences in a chat and SMS, et cetera, really powerful. It's a really popular way and also allows you to do really rich things. But as you all know, part of the reason that you have partnered with us is because we believe in this idea of a single lifelong conversation that's independent of any one channel, so that you ultimately can have customers use whatever channel they want. Email, SMS, chat, Facebook, Instagram, but also voice. And so what I want to show you is how we want to bring that same experience not only to the digital experiences, but also to voice. All right.
Hi, Joseph. Thanks for calling today. What can I help you with?
Well, I spilled a little ketchup on my wool runners last night, and I need to know how to clean them.
Hi there. Sadie here, your Albert's assistant. Sorry to hear about the ketchup spill. Definitely not the extra sauce you want on your shoes. For our wool shoes, you can safely machine wash them on a wool or delicate cycle using cold water. Then let them air dry away from direct sunlight or heat. For tree shoes, throw them in the wash on gentle cycle in cold water. As for our Mizzle collection, it's best to spot clean due to the water repellent treatment. Always remove the laces and insoles first. And don't worry, they'll be fresh and clean in no time. Did you need any more detailed cleaning tips or help with anything else today?
No, I'm all set, thanks.
No worries. Have a great rest of your day.
So, all of the work that we're doing to leverage AI with this customer service AI layer, we're going to bring also to the voice platform, which we think is obviously super powerful and super important. So, to summarize, to answer this question, how do you achieve irrational loyalty in the age of AI? So those four key things that we talked about. Number one, we believe that you still keep the customers at the center. It's customer service. It's not AI service. It's not case service. It's customer service. We think that AI needs to be a wrapper around all of the things you know about your customers and all the information about you and your specifics of your brand. It needs to be in your tone of voice with your specific content and answers, your particular self-service threads. And you want to harness the power of AI so that you can deliver the best of both assisted service conversations as well as self-service conversations. And keep all of that unified in that single lifelong conversation so that whenever anyone is engaged with a customer, you're all on the same page. Whether it's a support hero, whether it's AI, whether it's going back and forth, doesn't matter. And that's the big idea of what we're trying to help you do. Because we think the way to actually do it, the way to achieve irrational loyalty is by delivering radically personal customer service. And when you do that, that's how you create that emotional connection. Customers feel known. They feel that you have their best interests at heart. And that's the journey that we're on. We can't thank everybody enough for being partners and for people potentially to be partners with us. And we know that we've got a great set of sessions later today, and I just want to thank everyone for hearing where we're going. So thanks.